All right, here we are, live with reveal number 548. This is a 1945D roll, picked up in a collection from Florida, and we're going to open it up this evening, see what's in there. There is a decent chance of finding RPMs and double die obverses. However, there's only a few minor double die reverses listed, so we'll take a look for the double die reverses, but I can't really promise much of anything on those. So we'll look for the first 10 coins and see if we see anything in there for the double die reverses before we move on. And that's just in a matter of trying to make the show a little more brief. It's not by any means indicative that we will not view that side of the coin for later. All right, so coin number 1 goes to Mr. Paulson Dennis. Let's see what we have here. Well, so nothing around the date mint mark area. Let's see. Not a doubled I. It doesn't look like it's one of our Class 6 double die obverses. Good evening, Coin Junkie, Mickey, Frostbite. Good evening, gentlemen. On to the reverse. We take a look at the reverse and see if there's anything here for us to see. The only double die reverse that I am familiar with is also an RPM. So if it's not an RPM, it's probably not going to be a double die reverse either. But that could change. All right, not with this coin though. That was coin number 1. Went to Mr. Dennis. Now coin number 2. Coin number 2 in this roll goes to Ant. And this is Ant's coin. And that looks like it is. It is a rather minor Class 6 double die obverse. You can see it in the extra thickness in the letters in the date and the concavity in the top of the T's in trust. And there should be concavity in the E and we, and there is. There also should be some concavity in the first half of the letters in Liberty, and there is. So we have a minor double die obverse here. Let's check and see if there's anything on the eye or the ear. Nothing that I can see here. Okay. So we have that. We have some horizontal die scratches above the 1 in the date. That is going to signify to us that we have seen this die before when we see it again. And that is coin number 2 and our first double die for the roll. Let's see what we have as we keep looking to the reverse for some sign of doubling, and I don't see anything. Don't see anything there. All right. So that's our first double die for the roll. Not bad, given it's coin number 2. All right, coin number 3, we move on to Carl. Carl now. This is not the same. This one does not have the signs of being a Class 6 double die. See, it doesn't have the concavity. Oh, look, there's a really nice die crack. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So this one doesn't have the concavity to the top of the letters in the motto. And it also doesn't have any extra thickness to the letters in Liberty. So this one is a normal obverse. And we move on to the reverse and see if there's anything there for us to look at. Kind of a late die state example of this particular die. So I wouldn't be surprised if there could possibly be something very, very minor on it that we can't see. And that does happen quite frequently with later die state coins. 5DR number 4s. Very nice. Those 1960 Philadelphia double die reverses are beautiful, and they're not that awful easy to find. We are going to be going through a 60 Philadelphia roll this evening, one that was an original bank wrap roll. Now you see that shadow doubling on the outside of the 5 of the date, and that is very common to 1945 Lincoln cents that are in later die state. It's also very common to 1955 Lincoln cents. 1955 Lincoln cents known for that little shadow doubling on the outside of the 5 because there was an actual double die that year, and a lot of people mistook these for the actual double die. And then when they eventually figured out that these were not double dies, they started calling them the poor man's double die because you could get them cheap. Well, that's basically what these are. It's just die wear, and it shows up as doubling. You can see how that stretch doubling shows up along the outsides of the devices all around the rim area, and that is very indicative of a lot of wear on the die, excessive die wear. Also find that a lot of the finer details in the hair and other places are pretty much gone. That's what happens when you overuse a die. And this one doesn't look a whole lot better for wear. So that is coin number 4. Now coin number 5. Eric now, coin number 5. Let's see if I can get control of this. That one looks like it's probably one from a die we've already seen. It doesn't look any different from some of these others. Nope, that is from a die we've already seen. Huge die crack on the head. So there is that. Let's take a look at the reverse real quick and see if there's anything we need to be discussing. You can see all this excessive die wear is actually causing the appearance of doubling on the letters in unum. Be sure you're watching for that. When you think you found a double die, kind of take a good look and look around the area. And the area will probably tell you a lot you didn't already know. And it will give you the rest of the story in that on this particular coin, you have a little bit of doubling up there because that area is so worn out. All right, let's take a look at our next coin, coin number 6 now for Frostbite. Have one double die obverse so far in this roll, and this is not one of them. This appears to be the big headache. Nope, this is not the big headache. This is a different headache. This one's got 1, 2, 3 die cracks on the skull and 1 on the forehead, so there's 4 die cracks on the head. A little bit different from the rest, so we'll take a look at the reverse on this one, but I doubt we're going to see anything. There are known double die reverses for the 1945 D Lincoln cent. However, the only one that I have ever seen and really familiar with is very minor, and it belongs to the reverse of an RPM. Hello, Mr. Land Pirate. Number 7 now, Crispy. Crispy. Let's see what Crispy gets. Now, this is not one of our excessively late die state coins, so there's some chance we might be able to find something on here. Let's take a look around and see what we get. Well, we do have what appears to be the markers for that double die, but I'm not seeing the doubling. Remember the horizontal die scratches above the 1? It's got those. Let's check. Let's see what we see further up. This is not a double die, so that is interestingly strange. This one is a normal obverse. Hello, Angie. Think I found a 1928 1DO2. That would be tough. I think I've only seen 1 or 2 of those ever. That would be awesome. Okay, we're not seeing anything on the reverse of this coin either. So we have a normal coin for Crispy here. Coin number 8 now. Paul Hampton. Mr. Hampton. What do we get from Mr. Hampton? Yeah. Looks like a normal date mint mark area so far. Yeah. And let's check the eye real quick. It could be a double dilated. It's not. And nothing else on the obverse to be seen. So let me flip it over real quick. We've got 3 coins left to check on the reverse before we stop looking. During the show anyway. And that's just a matter of trying to keep the show a little bit shorter. Trying to keep it from running over an hour. Especially if we find any really goodies later on. We might want to spend a little extra time staring at them. And with the history of 1945D showing very, very few double die reverses, this is one of the issues that I've decided that it's not as important to put the reverses on the show. But we do still look at the reverses on all the coins as they come through. So the reverses will be viewed, even though we don't think there will be any dive rating on them. Yeah, I'm going to check the reverse on this one and not find anything. Except a spot right in the middle of the E. Where are you finding these, Ant? Here's one for Calipigian. And Calipigian turns up with what appears to be a normal 1945D. And no, nothing special on this one. Let's check the reverse. This will be our last one. We actually scope out the reverse and take a good look during the show. The rest of the roll, I guess we'll spend most of it trying to recreate that double die obverse that we found on coin number 2 for Ant. Here's number 11. This one goes to Jordan. And for Jordan, it looks like we have... It's a normal coin. It's one of the headache coins. I'm going to call it a headache coin. Splitting headache. Here's number 12, one from Malcolm. Let's see what Malcolm comes up with here. We'll be doing one more reveal tonight, and I'll try to fit the other 5 that I owe you in tomorrow. I'll try to mail everything out by Friday, get everything finished and mailed by Friday. That way, Monday I'll be ready to leave the state. I'll be gone for a while. Be gone for about a week. There's Sissy. One for Sissy, and she gets one of the double dies. That is a double die, and there are the die scratches above the 1. So this is our double die repeated again for the second time in the roll. You can see the concave or the curved inward tops to the T's and trust. You can see that curve in the bottom of the E of we. Those are supposed to be straight. When they're curved like that, that means that you've got the pull of a class 6 double die. Distension is what that's called. Yes, there will be an auction tomorrow. The auction tomorrow will be quite involving. There's a lot of things I'm going to put in the auction tomorrow. I'm going to try to get the list finished for it by noon tomorrow, because I know that's been a point of contention with a number of people that they want to bid on stuff, but they don't really have time to do much review of their collection or whatnot to figure out whether or not that's what they wanted to get. And so So I'm going to try to give you a little bit more time to check the list before the auction starts. Tyler, I'm sure you do, yes. That is probably the box that has been stuck with a whole bunch of other ones here waiting for the mail carrier to pick them up because, well, she neglected to bother picking up the mail on Saturday and marked it off as having been done. And so I had to go to the postmaster about that because I'm not going to accept someone lying about having done their job. And that happened on Saturday. And then today, a different carrier came and picked up those packages. So they should be scanned in now. Tracking numbers should be issued, and you guys should be able to look at your tracking to see where the packages are. All right, here's coin number 16 now. This one from Mark. And we are well on our way in this roll. This is not the double die. It looks like, there, this one's the splitting headache. It looks like we have a pretty finite set of dies here, probably 4 or 5 different dies that we're looking at, maybe 6. And it appears that one of them is a double die obverse. There are no RPMs apparently so far. There's no RPMs in this roll. And getting to know what you're looking at is a very important part of doing what we're doing here. And knowing the different dies that you're picking up in your... this one is one of the double dies here. See the die scratches above the 1? And then you've got the thick 9. The close D, and you should have curved upper edges of the letters here, yes. So this is one of the double dies. All right, so this one goes to Sureg. And here's number 18 now, this one for Carl. If you think this is exciting, we have a 1960 Philadelphia large date bank wrapped roll coming up next. I'm going to try to do that one at around 9 o'clock. Flip these over and look at the reverse just out of reflexive memory. Sometimes my muscle memory just does it. All right, now number 19. Number 19 goes to, once I get it unstuck, Tyler. Tyler gets number 19 here. And this one is not one of the double dies, but it's also not one of the RPMs. This is one of the head cracks. You can talk about coin crack. Well, there you go. You got your coin crack. Now we've got a head crack. We'll get all the crack we need. Let's see here. This one is also not one of the double dies. This is not the double die you're looking for. This is one of the cracked skulls again. The splitting headache. Number 21. Mr. Paulsen. Let's see what we have here. In number 21, this is not one of the double dies. This is one of the late die state coins here. This one's the splitting headache. Let's see. Announcements. I am working on the first series of the new coin cards. They will be printed here in the local area, and they will be distributed in packs of 10 beginning mid-August. Sometime mid to late August, we will have them printed, done, packaged, and ready to go. And let's see, my land pirate, Mr. Land Pirate. Let me check you. Hang on just a second. Let me check the mail. It's a good time to do that. Dun, 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 dun. If my computer would go fast enough to do it. Here we go. I'm evidently not holding my mouth correctly for this chore. Let me see. Okay, it's not that one. I've got you. All right. Mr. Land Pirate is registered to bid with us. So let me bring up Mr. Land Pirate here. And I wish I knew how to get rid of this problem here. I have a emoji type thing down in the right corner of my screen that I generally didn't ever get before. And there you go. Now you should be blue. Okay. So here we go. Coin number 23 now. Coin number 23 goes to Jordan. Let's take a look. Well, it looks like Jordan is going to get our 4 cracks. So we've got the massive splitting headache, and then we've got the 4 cracks. Got 4 cracks in the head. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 cracks on the head. Am I taking Sherman on my trip? No, I am not. And how did I get what to leave? The emoji thing? I didn't. It's like the 3 dots that show up after a person's name. The very bottom person in my chat, I can't do anything about clicking on their dots because all I have is these stupid emojis. Yeah, I think it's a new thing. I think it's one of the many various minor improvements, quote unquote, that these websites do just to keep things fresh. They think they need to change something just about every day. And what they don't understand is old people like me like to have things the same every day, not different every day. Can't read the rest of the chat. Yeah, I know. It's horrible. But hello, Kelly Ray. Good evening, milady. Let's see. We're still watching for a single double die. And this is the splitting headache coin, the spiked head die crack. And we're halfway through the roll now. So we continue looking. Here's one for Eric. And what is that? Is that a little hairy thing on the coin? Yeah, it is. Okay. Sometimes little hairs get on the coin. They just look very different. They look like part of the coin. Can be quite confusing at times. Okay. That crack feels like your head tonight. Oh, no. I hate that. I hope that gets to feeling better soon. Crispy. Crispy now does not get one of the double dies. This is the later die state obverse, or one of them. One of 2 different ones, I believe. Now number 28, Mr. Fletcher. Let's see if Mr. Fletcher gets anything here. As I was telling for the people who joined later, I was telling the people earlier, that curve on the outside of the 5 is actually die wear. That is abraded die wear. It's what happens when the molecules of steel on the die start to chip away because they are not well affixed anymore because of the continuous pressure of striking coins, repeated continuous pressure of striking coins. And what that does is it chips away at the edges of the cavities that make up the letters and numbers near the edge of the die. And what you get is this form of shadow doubling. It's almost like digging a crater in the die. You dig a crater in the die, and of course, if you take a negative impression of that crater, it's going to be a little hill. And so that's what we have in that area, and that is why it's just excessive die wear. We have 2 or 3 different dies in this roll showing up with that same die wear. Here's another one for Dennis. I believe this will be Dennis's last coin in the roll. And it shows up as a normal one. So far we have 3 examples of 1 double die obverse in this roll. And it is a relatively nice one. Give it a good 2 stars, maybe 3. There's one for Carl. Whoa, what does Carl have here? And it also is a normal coin. Ooh, little spotty. These older rolls, sometimes a few of the coins will end up with a few spots on them. That's just part of the draw, unfortunately. Let's see, here's Malcolm. Malcolm now. Kelly Ray, you should probably consider the idea of laying back after dinner and with a nice cold compress on your forehead. That always helps me, especially when the headache was probably caused by dehydration and heat. Because I know you guys have a kind of a rough time with heat down there and humidity on a rather constant basis. I know you're used to it, but it doesn't mean your body is going to like it. We've had a lot of rather excessive heat around here lately, but not nearly as bad as Texas and points west. I looked at the forecast for Death Valley, California yesterday, and here's one of the double dies right here. This is one of them. This one's a nice one too. This one goes to Crispy. Pretty nice condition. This coin's in. But Death Valley's forecast high for today was 124 degrees. Now, their forecast for tomorrow is 126. And they're expecting a possibility in that general area, someplace around there, might hit 130 degrees. And we're not talking about the feels like temperature and the heat index, whatever you want to call it. We're talking about real temperature, the real air temperature. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you're from. Doesn't matter what you're used to. That can dry out a human body and burn you to a crisp in a pretty quick hurry. So they're having basically the same problems in and near southern and western Texas. I mean, not that northern and eastern Texas aren't getting really hot too, but there's dangerous heat in South Texas. And I just wish well for everyone who has to face that right now. And I'm very thankful that we had a high temperature of about 89 or 90 degrees here today. It really wasn't very hot. Just another normal coin there. Number 37 now for Jordan. And we have ourselves another, appears to be a normal coin. Another normal coin. I have a Sherman underneath me who has decided that he needs to be a part of my feet. Not lay near them or on them. He has to actually implant my feet into his body like we are one together. It's kind of disturbing at times, but now he just gets up and walks away. It's like, you're not going to pet me. Okay. I see how you are. You get on that thing you talk to, and you disappear from care. It's like, well, dude, I do still care. It's just that I can't show it right now. So you need to go find something else to do for the next, 45 minutes or so. I know it's really hard for a dog to understand. You're talking to some machine instead of playing with me. He went downstairs. He gave up on me. Here's one for Eric. And this one is not one of the double dies. So we're going to keep rolling through. Press on, roll through. We have 10 coins at this point left to go to. Here's coin number 41 for Carl. And it is not one of the double dies. And number 42. Coming up for Paul Hampton. I got a wake-up call today that I need to buy myself a nice, large pan. Like a large cooking pan. I tried to do stir-fry, and I don't have a wok. I don't generally ever use a wok. But I like having a large pan. Well, the large pan that we have, for some reason, doesn't hardly get hot enough on my glass top cooktop stove, which I hate. It doesn't get hot enough to fry. It gets hot enough to maybe boil water, but not really hot enough to fry anything. And so I ended up having to use what turned out to be 3 small pans to cook the family's dinner instead of 1 large pan. And that really made my cooking go sideways because everything's taking a lot more time than it should. And, well, while dinner came out okay, it did not come out as successful as I had hoped. Here's a double die. There's another one for us. This one goes to Sureg. You can see, once again, you can see the die scratches, the horizontal die scratches above the 1 of the date. There's a clash in the throat as well. And I have all the markings of a double die here. It's rather minor, but it is definitely there. Now number 45. Coin number 45 goes to Calipigian. And Calipigian gets this coin. It is, it's one of the normal ones, but it's not a bad looking coin at all. Oof. I wouldn't want to work at a steel mill. That can be some rough work. And this is another one of our double dies. So here late in the roll, we're getting a good little flurry of them. This one's for Tyler. Looks like that's going to work out to our benefit. Gets them out into the hands of a number of different people. Here's one for Ant. Let's see if Ant gets another one. He got the first one in the roll. He does not get one this time around. Just one of our late die state. One of our late die state coins. All right, 3 coins left. Is number 48. Back to Frostbite again. And Frostbite gets a normal coin. Later die state, normal coin. 1945D. I realized yesterday, well, it's not like I realized I'm old yesterday, but I had another reminder that I'm old yesterday when I saw in my Facebook feed a 1978 All-Star Ballad. And I was able to name, of course, this just had last names on it, but I was able to name first name and last name for most of the players on the ballot. And then I sat and thought for a few minutes, and it finally dawned on me that I don't know the name of a single active Major League Baseball player today. Not one. I kind of calculated that everybody I would have watched in the last years I bothered watching baseball would be retired now, because they would have to play for close to 30 years. It's been 30 years since I bothered watching any baseball. They went on strike at the end of the, well, at the beginning of the 1994 season. They went on strike, and at the end of the 1993 season, all my players retired, so there wasn't anything left to watch. All right. Get these put together so that they will stack nicely. There's all of our normal coins. And our double dies. We have them for these people. Ant, we've got one for Sissy, Sureg, Crispy, Sureg, and Tyler. So we've got 2 for Sureg in here. And that's how the cookie crumbles this time around. I appreciate it, folks. Join me in about, let's say 5 or 10 minutes. Somewhere around there. I'll be back with reveal number 549, which is going to be this sealed bankroll of 1960, large date, Philadelphia. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You guys be well. Come back and see me in reveal number 549.